So I'd like to have a big round of applause for our next speaker who is interested in using visual arts to help spread learning and communication. Let's have a big round of applause for Tom Crawford.
Okay, can you hear me? Yep. So thanks to Ignite A2 and of course A2 Geeks and Ryan for having me. Happy to be here. I am not a chef. I'm an information designer, but I do like to cook, and today we're going to talk about 10 ways that recipes cause kitchen screw-ups. But before we get started, I want to start with a question. Raise your hand if you've ever tried to make something in the kitchen and have it not turn out. Okay, it's almost everybody, and those of you who didn't raise your hand either haven't been in the kitchen, or you're probably not telling the complete truth. The reality is that it happens to all of us. In fact, it's not your fault. It's the recipe's fault. In the next 4 minutes, I'm going to show you why that's true. So the recipe we use today, the format of the recipe, is really old. How old do you think it is? It's more than 100, more than 500. In fact, it's 3,600 years old. The first recipe we know of was written in cuneiform on clay tablets. And with all the innovation we've had in the last 3,600 years, with the printing press, the internet, computers, television, even new tablets, none of us have ever thought to redesign the recipe. In fact, okay, it's almost everything. Are 100 to 180 years ago when we separated ingredients and added quantities as part of the Industrial Revolution and the advent of the modern grocery store. Fundamentally, nothing has changed. Why do we have the recipe in the first place? Well, it was for chefs to remember what they made. And second, then for chefs to tell other chefs what they made. And then to a newer innovation, to make grocery lists and to inspire innovation, but never to teach us, the home cook, how to cook. So let's talk about ways that it doesn't work for us. First, friends were making spaghetti sauce, went to their spice cabinet to find cloves, garlic cloves. They found cloves instead, made the sauce. Didn't turn out. No surprise. A picture would have fixed that problem. If you go to Meijer right now today, you'll find 4 different types of Idaho potatoes on the shelf. Each one is different. If you go and look at that, this recipe should have said russet potatoes. Idaho's done a great job, thank you, for marketing their potatoes so that everything has to be that. What about large onions? These 3 onions were bought the same day at 3 different grocery stores and were the largest onions in that store. If I tried to make something out of this dish, each dish would be completely different. It's not our fault, it's the recipe's fault. This is probably the biggest information design problem. The things we need to do are up in the ingredients instead of down in the process where we need it. Have you ever tried to make a recipe and you get halfway through and you realize you don't have the piece that you need done and it's going to throw off the whole recipe and it's just done? Huge information design problem. And what is half lengthwise on a Roma tomato anyway? I don't know, and certainly a diagram could have fixed that, but I don't even know what I'm going to use it for, so I can't even decide because the information is up at the top and not down at the bottom where I'm actually doing all the stuff. And then loosely packed. All 3 of these came from the same measuring cup. These dishes are going to taste completely different. It's the recipe's fault. It should have used weight instead of a simple size like a measuring cup. It's the recipe's fault. This one, compound steps. This recipe says it has 5 steps, but it actually has 31. Have you ever made a recipe where you step away, you do something to the stove, and you come back and you realize, I skipped a whole step. I skipped a whole paragraph because I lost track. And this one, boiled and mashed. Yes, potato cakes are a great way to make up used mashed potatoes, but is it really mashed potatoes or is it just boiling and mashing the potatoes? I don't know, but either way, I've got another 20 minutes to make these that aren't included in the time that was up at the top in the preparation time. And dredging. Yes, I can go to Google or YouTube and I can look it up and get a nice video, but when my hands are covered with chicken guts, it's really not the best time to put it on my beautiful Mac. And this, it's great. A cup and a half of sugar for a grocery list is a great thing, I need that. But if I put it in my crust, the crust is going to be crazy sweet and then my filling is going to be bitter. Really, it should have split that out into 2 sections where the crust should be in one spot and the filling should be in another. But not every time is it the recipe's fault. Sometimes it's our fault. Sometimes we drop the pie. Sometimes we bake the cookies too long. Sometimes it's just not the recipe's fault. But that doesn't mean it has to be a disaster. We can overcome that. And a disaster doesn't have to be grasshopper pie. It can be grasshopper parfait. And if you don't tell anybody, they won't know. And if you do tell them, they'll think you're amazing for fixing it in the process. So So look for those opportunities to redefine the problem. I don't want to leave you with just problems, though. I want you to have at least 4 solutions. 1, first of all, if you can, read the recipe in advance. 2, do mise en place, make the stuff in advance. Look at YouTube, look at Google, try to find out the information you don't know before you get going. And if you need more steps and ideas, come and follow me at VizChef. We're trying to redesign the recipe. But no matter what, be brave, take the chance, make something amazing, and thank you.